The American West has always been shaped by water. From the mighty Colorado River carving through canyons to the vast reservoirs that turned deserts into cities, water built the foundation of modern life in this region. But today, that foundation is under severe threat. Decades of overuse, explosive population growth, and a rapidly warming climate have pushed the West to the edge of a historic water crisis. Millions of Americans are now asking a question that once seemed unthinkable. Is the United States running out of water? At the heart of the crisis lies the Colorado River, a 1,450-mile lifeline that provides water to 7 U.S. states, 2 countries, and more than 40 million people. For nearly a century, its waters have been divided by legal agreements that promised far more than the river could actually deliver. Those deals, struck in the early 20th century, were based on unusually wet years, which created a false sense of abundance. As a result, cities and farms built their future on an overestimated flow, and today the river is simply unable to keep up. The consequences are most visible at Lake Mead and Lake Powell, the 2 largest reservoirs in the United States. Both have dropped to historically low levels, exposing barren shorelines and even revealing sunken boats and ancient landscapes that had been underwater for decades. These reservoirs are more than scenic landmarks. They supply drinking water to tens of millions and generate hydroelectric power for vast regions. In recent years, water levels have fallen so dramatically that officials have warned about dead pool conditions, where water drops so low it can no longer pass through the dams. This crisis has triggered water cuts that ripple across the economy. In states like Arizona, farmers have been forced to let fields go dry, losing crops that once fed the nation. In California, strict water restrictions have limited how residents can irrigate their lawns, wash their cars, or even flush their toilets. Cities like Las Vegas, once symbols of limitless growth, are now redesigning themselves around water scarcity. The famous lawns of suburban America are being replaced with drought-tolerant landscapes, and every drop is being measured. Behind these visible shortages is the accelerating force of climate change. The American West is heating faster than many other parts of the world, and higher temperatures mean snow in the Rocky Mountains, the river's main source, melts earlier and evaporates more quickly. What used to be reliable spring runoff is now dwindling, leaving reservoirs short of replenishment. Scientists call it a megadrought, one of the most severe in over 1,000 years, worsened by human-driven climate change. Agriculture, which consumes about 70% of the Colorado River's water, faces the toughest reckoning. Vast fields of alfalfa, cotton, and other thirsty crops have thrived in desert climates thanks to irrigation, but those days may be numbered. Some farmers are adopting drip irrigation and more efficient techniques, yet many still rely on century-old water rights that guarantee them large shares even as the river dries. This imbalance fuels political tensions, with cities demanding cuts from agriculture while farmers argue they grow the food that urban residents depend on. The struggle extends beyond state borders. The river crosses international lines, flowing into Mexico, where communities and ecosystems also rely on its dwindling waters. Decades of diversions have left its delta nearly dry, transforming wetlands into cracked earth. Efforts to restore small sections of the delta show promise, but the scale of the crisis dwarfs those attempts. Despite the grim outlook, solutions are emerging. Cities are becoming laboratories for water innovation. In Southern California, advanced recycling plants are turning wastewater into drinking water, creating what is often called toilet to tap. Desalination plants, which convert seawater into fresh water, are being built along the coast, though they remain expensive and energy-intensive. In Arizona and Nevada, conservation campaigns encourage residents to remove grass lawns in exchange for rebates, saving billions of gallons each year. Farmers are experimenting with new crop choices that use less water, and technology like satellite-guided irrigation is helping reduce waste. Federal intervention is also growing. The U.S. government has begun negotiating emergency agreements between states, offering billions in funding to encourage conservation and cutbacks. For the first time in history, mandatory reductions have been imposed on multiple states that rely on the Colorado River. While controversial, these measures mark a recognition that voluntary efforts alone will not solve the problem. Yet even with innovation and policy, the central reality remains: there is simply less water available than Americans once believed. Climate change ensures that the river of the future will be smaller, less reliable, and more contested. The challenge is not just technical but cultural. For generations, the West thrived on an illusion of endless growth in an arid land. Now society must rethink what it means to live sustainably in a desert that cannot provide as much as it once did. The water crisis in the American West is not just a regional issue, it is a warning to the rest of the world. As populations rise and climates shift, many other regions face similar struggles, from the rivers of South Asia to the aquifers of Africa. The United States, with its wealth and resources, is at the front line of a global challenge: how to adapt to a future where water is no longer guaranteed. If the crisis is ignored, the results will be devastating: abandoned farmland, shrinking cities, and deep social conflicts over who gets to drink, grow, and survive. But if tackled with urgency, innovation, and cooperation, the American West could also become a model of resilience, proving that even in the harshest drought, human societies can adapt. The story of the Colorado River and the American West is still being written. Whether it ends as a tale of collapse or one of survival will depend on the choices made today. The question, "Is America running out of water?" is no longer rhetorical. It is the challenge of a generation, and the answer will define the future of millions who call the West home.